There is a Japanese supercar built in Ohio that I don't think gets the amount of attention that it deserves, and it's this, the Acura NSX second generation. This one specifically is a 2022 NSX Type-S, the limited run final send-off 350 units worldwide with a rather innovative hybrid powertrain. So we have a gas engine back here, it is mid-engine with an electric motor, an additional 2 electric motors up front, which is a powertrain formula that many modern day hybrid supercars are adopting. But this second gen NSX had a rather tumultuous reintroduction to the world. It took a long time. At one point, it was supposed to have a V10, and then they were going to give it the boring corporate V6, but then they decided that wasn't enough, so it has a bespoke twin turbo V6. But by the time it finally made it to market, the whole supercar world had kind of moved on to the next generation of power and performance, so the NSX never sold in the numbers that I'm sure Acura and Honda executives wished it did, which does mean it's rather rare today. I feel like I see way more R8s and entry-level Lamborghinis and McLarens compared to the NSX. Now, this is going to be my first time ever driving any sort of NSX. I've only gone for a passenger ride in the first gen, which by all accounts is a pure lightweight driver-focused sports car, which this one kind of strayed away from that formula, right? It's heavier, more complicated, but it still features some pretty cutting-edge technology. But how does it feel compared to those other entry-level supercars of its era? And how does it feel compared to some of the more modern stuff that we have now? We're gonna find out. The powertrain. We have a unique dry sump 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6 combined with the hybrid system. Total output is 600 horsepower and 492 pound-feet of torque, which is a slight increase compared to the non-Type-S regular NSX. The engine on its own is 520 horsepower and 443 pound-feet of torque, thanks to some more boost from the turbos, a bit more fuel from the fuel injectors, and we have upgraded intercoolers for better thermal management. Now, the layout of electric motors is also very important because we have one in the back but 2 in the front, which gives you the ability to do some cool torque vectoring. Now, this is also a hybrid, not for fuel economy, not for the MPGs. It is all about performance. It's not a plug-in hybrid. They don't even really quote an electric battery capacity. It is really just about the performance. We have all-wheel drive thanks to electric motors and a 9-speed dual-clutch transmission. And this one sounds really good. Let's take a look at the exterior design. So the Type-S gets a unique front end, which does look rather beak-like to me, as if it was inspired by a bird. It's very pointy and protruding, but also functional. Lots of openings for airflow and cooling. You see radiators through there, that's open to channel air. We have a carbon fiber front splitter, and this paint color is called Thermal Orange Pearl, which is quite a nice finish. There are some very cool colors available on the NSX. So many more openings on the fender here for channeling air along the side, on the hood to channel air through there. We also have the carbon ceramic brakes with the orange calipers, 5-spoke blacked out wheels. You have a carbon fiber roof. The door handles also will pop out, but they can go flush. This is more airflow, cooling, intercoolers, and then even through this flying buttress, you can see air will channel through there. Another intake on the side. We've got a Type-S badge, carbon fiber side skirts, and here's a cool detail. Even like the side reflectors are more angular and triangle shaped. We have a little carbon lip back here. Really aggressive carbon diffuser back here. Take a look at those diffuser fins and an aftermarket titanium exhaust. Overall, the shape, the proportions, it really reminds me of a Gen 2 R8, but even more angular. We have the mid-engine layout, and it definitely looks really cool, especially in this eye-catching orange. Let's take a look inside. So this is a 2022 model year car, but this infotainment screen looks like it might be from 2002, but we do have Apple CarPlay. It is wired CarPlay, so I grabbed way too short of a little USB cable back here. It's not USB-C, obviously. If I owned one of these, I'd probably get one of those wireless CarPlay little dongle adapters, but we have Apple CarPlay, which is nice, but this native infotainment screen is definitely showing its age. Here's a fun thing. When you turn your drive modes over, the tiles change to red for sportier. But let me just go back to quiet as we're doing an interior tour. So, you know, basic tiles. Here's something that's really, really funny. We have apps. There's a calculator. What? I mean, I know it's an Asian car, so you need like a calculator, but actually no, if you're Asian, you should be good at math. We're good at math. Anyways, who has ever used a calculator in their infotainment screen? But that I found hilarious. We've got all these different tiles. Go to info, trip, this, like, look how old this looks. This is a 2022. This is crazy. Look at climate right here. But I mean, it works. It works. It's very basic. And honestly, if you're just running CarPlay, that's really all you need. I've got Spotify, you know, Google Maps, navigation, whatever you need, right? And then the other thing is we've got so many buttons. I mean, this touchscreen is hilarious, but everything else is a nice button, toggles up and down for your climate. This big knob here is for your drive modes, dynamic mode. So if you go all the way to the left, we're currently in quiet. You see the full digital cluster there. And then we can go up to sport, sport plus, and if I hold it, it will go up to track. There we go. There's track mode. You can see the different things that are changing. Our powertrain, all-wheel drive, suspension, steering. And when you go to track, it looks like the screen goes to sleep because they assume that if you're on the track using track mode, you don't need any distractions here, but you can touch it to wake it up. Let me go back into quiet. The materials and build quality are top-notch in here. Fantastic. Everything is so solid. I'm actually really impressed with the quality. Nothing is squeaking, no rattles. Like, it feels extremely high quality in here. We have some matte carbon on the steering wheel, a bunch of different toggles for like cruise control. This is some interface with your infotainment stuff. You got paddle shifters on the steering wheel, more carbon up here, nice leather, memory seats. That's for opening the trunk engine compartment, fuel door. And yeah, everything is wrapped in nice stitched leather and suede. We've got red accents on this one. The digital cluster here in the middle, your tachometer sits front and center, and then analog gauges for fuel temps and things like that. It's nice, easy to use. And then this is your Prindle, your park, reverse, neutral, drive. So you press this for park, you press this button here. You see the reverse, the arrow down here. That's for reverse, which pulls up. Oh man, that backup camera is 12 pixels by 12 pixels. So that's kind of rough. That backup camera is not particularly... Oh, there's a top-down view. I guess that's handy. There's no front cameras, but we do have parking sensors. This is neutral, and then you press that once for drive and press it again if you want to go into manual. We do have heated seats, little buttons right here. Your parking brake, little NSX in this suede. Little storage thingy here, another storage thingy here. I don't know. Are there cup holders in this thing? I don't think so, unless I don't know where they are. Anyways, we've got more suede. You get a Type-S badge right here, more stitching, suede. So here's a funny quirk. You see how that's Alcantara suede? This thing has the lightweight package, which it was supposed to come with some carbon. This was supposed to be carbon, and some of the earliest Type-S builds are carbon fiber if you find a listing for one or something. But this one, it's like they ran out part of the way through. And I was talking to the owner, John, my friend, and he said that, yeah, it's just some weird quirk where they just either ran out or just stopped building them with the carbon shroud here for your cluster. We have pretty nicely bolstered seats. They're actually very comfortable. They hold you in place, but they're not uncomfortable at all. Suede, leather, red stitching, red seat belts, red NSX stitching right there. The ELS Studio sound system, which is not bad. I was playing around with it. It's a very small cabin. There's no like partial shelf behind back here. You can see back there the carbon engine trim though. So the V6 is right behind you. Little window back there, suede headliner. In terms of space, I am 6'3" and I'm pretty comfortable. Now the seat doesn't go up and down. It just forward and then recline, forward, back, and recline. So very limited adjustability, but I'm in here. It's actually quite comfortable. It really reminds me of the R8 interior. The R8 has a little partial shelf behind, so storage is not fantastic. Like, I don't know where to put my water bottle. It's currently behind the seat, or I'll probably put it in the trunk when I go driving. Oh, and we have some carbon fiber here on the door sill plate. NSX, nice carbon. There's a little latch down here. Yep, there was no storage here at all. This is mechanical stuff. So no front trunk in the NSX, but they do let you open it, which is kind of cool. We do have some adjustable lumbar, but you see just forward, back, and then recline for the seats. Now getting in, this comes down really low. I have hit my head at least half a dozen times on this thing. You gotta be really careful. Like if I just go straight here, I'm gonna hit my head. You gotta be really careful. All right, let's go for a drive and talk about what this NSX Type-S is like on the road. And we start off in quiet mode in all electric mode. So this has usable EV mode. You can actually get up to speed, drive around, but it has a rather small battery pack. So it discharges pretty quickly. You can see the level right there. It's that bright blue bar on the right side of the gauge. But the good thing is when it does get low, the engine will kick on and it'll recharge on the go. But you can gradually accelerate away with the electric motors, and having an EV mode can be useful. Let's just say you're leaving really early in the morning and you want to be considerate about your neighbors or your family, don't want to wake them up. You can leave in electric mode and then the gas engine kicks on, and it's just a fun, different mode to try out your supercar in. And now, like I mentioned early on, there's a lot of hybrid supercars that have this functionality, like a shuttle mode, everything ranging from Corvette E-Ray all the way up to Ferraris. The Lamborghinis are all hybrids now. Now, those are becoming plug-in hybrids, which does give them a bigger battery pack, which does add some weight, but even more usable electric range. Another thing that was kind of driving some of this, I believe, was a lot of European regulations started requiring electric mode if you want to drive in a city center. So I think that may have spurred on some of them. But anyways, we're in a Acura supercar. I don't think we want to drive around in golf cart mode the whole time. So I'm going to toggle up into not sport, but sport plus. Engine kicks on, put it into manual, downshift a couple times. It doesn't like going into first unless you're crawling. Right there, it denied it. So second gear and floor it. This thing is fast. Woohoo! Now, 600 horsepower might not sound crazy by today's standards because we've just had this warped sense of power now. EVs and just everything has been inflating to such a level where, like, unless you have 1,000 horsepower, it's no longer impressive, right? I mean, you can buy a Corvette with 1,000 horsepower, the ZR1, and the hybrid supercars now are 700, 800, 900 horsepower is ordinary. But this thing is still very, very quick. The electric motors and the torque from that twin-turbo V6, definitely you can feel it. It feeds in. There's like this uninterruption of power as you just keep accelerating. It's very smooth and continuous. Even as you're shifting and it's kicking in the next gear, the electric motors fill in that torque. So in a straight line, this thing is still pretty dang quick. All-wheel drive. It was tested 60 in like the 3-second range. I saw some magazines are like just under 3, like 2.9, but call it 3 seconds 0 to 60, and like that's pretty quick, and it's fun. This 9-speed is also really good. I'm very, very impressed with this 9-speed dual clutch transmission. There we go, a couple more downshifts, but again, it will not let you go in the first unless like you're literally crawling. Nope, so even at that speed, it did not want to go into first. Let me toggle up into track mode so we can hold this little dial over here. Now we're in track, and it puts everything from the all-wheel drive with the torque vectoring, suspension steering into the most aggressive setting, and the screen goes to sleep. This one also sounds really good now because it has an aftermarket exhaust, downpipes, apparently stock. It is pretty quiet. I roll the windows down so we can hear it a little bit. Ooh, we got some turbo noises. Yeah, that is fun. That is quite fun. Also, when you're in the more aggressive modes, let me get up to speed a little bit. I'm gonna upshift all the way to, let's see, how high will it let me go? 7th gear, 8th gear, 9th gear. When you're in the more aggressive drive modes, you can hold the left paddle and it will drop to the lowest available gear. So I'm cruising in 9th gear right now, pull and hold the left paddle. There's 3rd gear. That's a fun feature. Man, this is a very, very good dual clutch, and it's a lot of gear ratios. 9 might be the most number of gear ratios I've seen in a dual clutch. Usually they're like, I mean, 7 and 8's kind of normal now, and obviously automatics go up to like 10 speed. Just more shorter gear ratios. Maybe that's also why first gear is very aggressive. Oh, there we go, went into first gear, finally. It also, see, oh, it's out already. It really wants to get out of first gear so quickly. thing is properly fun, and yeah, that exhaust, it sounds so good. This might be one of my new favorite sounding V6. A lot of V6s sound kind of generic. It's hard to make them sound really cool and unique. I mean, like, I remember when people started putting exhaust on EcoBoost V6 Ford GTs, I'm like, those just sound like R35 GTRs with an exhaust, right? One of the best sounding V6s is the Ferrari 296, a little Piccolo V12, because it's a really wide V6. Obviously, Porsche flat 6s sound really good. There's some inline 6s, but this twin turbo V6, I'm actually a big fan, again, with this exhaust. You hear boost noises, you're spooling, it sounds quite good. Something about this car really reminds me of a blend of my previous Gen 2 R8 in the proportions and like kind of the positioning and the feel, but also like with McLaren qualities. That's the boost, right? The low end torque. Like the R8s with either the naturally aspirated V8 or the V10s. Gen 2s were V10s only. Another car, my C8 Z06, right? Flat plane crank V8, a Ferrari with a naturally aspirated V8. These high revving NA engines, they have no torque down low. If you're doing below like 5,000 RPM, it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. Whereas like the McLarens and the more modern hybrid and turbo engines, they make so much torque. And this thing definitely, you feel the torque. Again, the numbers might not sound ridiculous on paper, but in terms of feel, woohoo! It'll shove you into the back of your seat, and it's fun. It is exciting, and yeah, it has that like personality in between both an R8 and a McLaren. In terms of seating position, you feel like you're sitting very low. I do like that, although the seat is not super adjustable. You can't drop it lower, and it's just forward, back, a little bit of lumbar, and then angle, right? But it feels really wide, low, but at the same time, I still feel like I have really good visibility. Sightlines are pretty good. You can see kind of the edges of the hood. And in my mind, I keep thinking about how this stacks up against something like a McLaren Artura. It's another twin-turbo V6 hybrid supercar. Now, the Artura is much newer. Pricing-wise, compared to a Type-S, it's actually kind of close. And the McLaren does feel more exotic in some ways because it's a carbon tub. The doors go up, right? You get the swoopy McLaren looks. But I think I would rather own one of these. This is a more unique experience. I cannot emphasize the rarity enough. Type-S, obviously, right? 350, those was just specifically limited. They just didn't build any more than 350. But even the regular NSX, because it didn't sell in amazing numbers when it was brand new, overall production numbers were like 2,000 to 3,000, I think, which is not a lot when you look at Huracans, R8s, even the McLaren 570 Sports Series, right? I think Huracans, I mean, tens of thousands. R8s, tens of thousands for the generations. Even the McLarens, multiple thousands. So they're orders of magnitude more common than any sort of NSX. So this, going forward, is the rare, unique choice. And it's really grown on me this week. I am surprised how much I like this. I came into driving this Type-S, having, like I mentioned, never driven any sort of NSX. And I always thought, okay, that's cool. But, you know, I mean, the formula, like, okay, twin-turbo V6. Yeah, it's not a corporate twin-turbo V6, thank goodness, right? They didn't just take an Odyssey V6 and put turbos on it. That would have been... anyways, but it's just, I was like, well... a naturally aspirated V10. I'd rather have that. Look at the insane feel and sound of an NA V10, and it just, I don't think I would go for this, right? But now, in today's day and age, regular NSXs have depreciated to the point where they're actually really, really interesting and appealing. Like low hundreds range, call it like 125 to 150 grand, I think, can get you a pretty good regular NSX. This Type-S is a lot more expensive. When brand new, it was like, call it 15K-ish more, depending how you option it. You can option these up quite a bit more, right, with the lightweight packet carbon ceramics. There were some pretty expensive paint options too. So you could build one of these to like 185-ish, but because they're so rare, they are now still transacting for $250,000, at least $250,000 for really clean ones. Really clean low mile ones are getting closer to 300. Like I've seen some for like 275, 280, right? So that's more than double a regular base one. But you get the rarity, you get the additional tweaks and touches and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I can't say much of how this compares to a non-Type-S because, again, never driven a base NSX. But this thing, I am very, very much liking it. One of the earliest things that stood out to me as soon as I started driving and taking some turns, steering, the feel, I really, really like. I like the front end, the turn end, and then you can feel the torque vectoring from the electric motors too. That's the really cool thing when you have two electric motors. There's twin pair of electric motors up front, which means you can independently control them and you do wild torque vectoring things with your front end. When you have something like the Corvette E-Ray or the ZR1X with a more rudimentary single electric front motor, that's really more so just to put power down and for traction, right? You can up the power number, your total output, and when you're launching it, you get the all-wheel drive, but you can't do some magical torque vectoring stuff, and brake-based is a little more limited. When you have motor, you have way more fine control, and this is one of the early ones that actually has it, and it's cool. I've taken some sharp turns, and you just feel it kind of pivot in even harder, and it's really, really fun. So steering and handling are really nice. It also rides pretty comfortably still. So we have magnetic ride dampers, and if you get out of track/sport plus and your regular modes, it's comfortable. Like this is a daily driver friendly supercar. With the caveat is the practicality is rather low. This interior doesn't have all that much storage. I couldn't find cup holders. I don't know if I just wasn't looking in the right places, but I was like, my water bottle was just on the ground, right? So, okay, a lot of supercars don't have cup holders, fine. There's no front trunk. You can open it like I showed you guys, right? But just mechanical stuff underneath there. So, unfortunately, that's not practical. There's a trunk in the back, but anytime you have a mid-engine car with a trunk in the back, stuff that's it just gets hot, right? I don't really use the rear trunk on my Z06 much. I use the front trunk, and there are hybrid all-wheel drive supercars that still have front trunks. Corvette E-Ray, Ferrari 296, there's a lot of them, right? So like it's a packaging thing, they didn't prioritize it there, and there's no parcel shelf behind the seats, but this is still a really cool daily driver fun supercar in my opinion. This Type-S with the rarity is definitely a step up. So we're kind of looking at a little tiny top tier snapshot of the NSX market here. These are going to be the most desirable, they're going to be the most valuable, but this driving experience, even if the regular one is, call it 85% as good as this, I think it's really, really appealing, especially at the price point that some of these regular ones are getting to. Another downside, well, not a downside, it's just kind of funny. It's a hybrid, right? It's not a hybrid for fuel economy. I've been driving this for the last couple of days, mixed use, day-to-day, regular stuff, took it to the gym, I went and got gas earlier, right? Just like around town for photo shoots and whatever, and then I've been having some fun with it. Yeah, I filled it up yesterday and it was 180 miles to empty. I'm at about 3/4 of a tank now. It's showing 133 miles to empty. That's really low. Now I have been ripping around in Sport Plus and track mode, and as you saw, we're having some fun. So yeah, it's gonna be a little thirsty, but it is not at all hybridization for fuel economy. I think I got a thumbs up from that guy. It does track a lot of attention, a lot of positive attention. Thumbs up, people taking photos. It helps when you're in this thermal orange pearl paint that is very, very eye-catching. But I think if you drive it like responsibly, maybe if you use quiet mode and it's engine on off a bunch more, you'll get closer to like 20 mpg-ish, but whatever, who cares? It grips. Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh, what I would give to have this thing on a racetrack or like a really good curvy mountain road. I like this a lot. When you do step up through the different drive modes, it'll increase the aggression of the suspension, I believe steering, also the torque vectoring, and like shift times. I believe in Sport Plus and track, it's like 50% quicker engagement, and it's snappy. Downshift the second right there. Yeah, and then we're in 8th gear, and I want to go to the lowest available gear. Hold. Yeah, this thing is really good. Let's see, any other complaints? I don't see a customizable drive mode, because I would like to be able to set it where I have the dampers in the softest setting for the real world streets. I'm not on a smooth racetrack, but I want powertrain and things like that and really aggressive. And it's always fun to get to fiddle around and create your own custom drive mode. I believe, like, if you could like press this button right here, it's not a button, it's just literally the knob, right? But that would be cool to have your own custom drive mode. The infotainment's great. I mean, you got CarPlay right here right now, but if I go back to the native infotainment screen, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Like, look at that. I was shocked. This is a 2022. I mean, it's a relic of a much older era. Maybe it's because it took them so long to develop the NSX. This is just the computer, the infotainment screen that was stuck in this thing, and they're just like, oh, this is what we have. This is what the whole architecture is set up for. I don't know, but that is hilariously bad. But I mean, with CarPlay, whatever, right? As long as you have wired CarPlay, I don't actually care about that much. The backup camera is also like 4 pixels, so that kind of hilariously bad. But the build quality, you don't hear any squeaks, rattles, creaks. Right? If you come out of a McLarens are spectacularly fun to drive. They're so fast, but you can't say they've got the best build quality in the world, right? Things will just squeak, and it just doesn't feel as solid. This is at the level of, like, I think better actually than the R8 build quality, which is really good. It's an Audi, right? But the solid feeling is really, really good, and I kind of expect that from a Japanese automaker building one of these. If you want to compare this to another Japanese supercar, the R35 GTR, because like R35 Nismo prices are kind of up there. They're holding value really, really well. It's such a different experience. They might both be V6 all-wheel drive Japanese supercars, but it's a different formula. This is so much smaller and lighter and more nimble feeling. Obviously, it's a hybrid. The GTR is a beast, but it's just a different kind of segment. It's almost like comparing an M3 to a Corvette, right? It's just a different experience in driving dynamics and total personality of the car. This really is more akin to, again, if an R8 and a McLaren had a baby, this is what I think would come out. This is how I feel about the Acura NSX. Brakes are good too. Yeah, and I really like this downpipe and titanium exhaust setup. It sounds good. It sounds exotic. And just like that, we've got charge back to full. Trying to think, anything else to cover? If you're tall, when you're getting in, I have hit my head half a dozen times on that, not the door sill, the roof sill, the top of the door right here. I have hit my head many, many times. It hurts, so you gotta kind of duck your head as you get in. But once you're in, the seats are very comfortable. They hold you in nicely, but they are very cushy. Let's see, what else? It looks really cool. I spent more time just staring at the curves, not the curves, the angles along the side, seeing where airflow was channeled and how the panels layer with air intakes and things like that. I really, really do like the way this thing looks. And then I'll circle back to the last point, the rarity. You just don't see many of these. Ignore Type-S, regular NSX. You're just not going to see as many of these out there. And I think long term, it could become a pretty desirable, valuable car, given that they've only done 2 generations and they're both so different. But the legendary Type 1, the Generation 1 of the NSX, right, that has stayed steady, whereas this is totally different, but it's building upon that name in a different formula. And did it have a long and challenging road to coming into existence? Yes. I remember going to auto show after auto show and be like, when is NSX actually coming, right? They're like, oh, it's this. And then here's another concept. This is happening, this is happening. And they just kept changing their mind over and over again. I'm like, all right, you guys are taking too long. But you know what else that did that too? Lexus LFA also kind of took a long time too, didn't it? Maybe sometimes the Japanese brands, they just want to make sure they do get it right. It might take them a little bit longer, but when they finally release something, is it the most cutting edge, fastest thing out there? No, you can absolutely buy faster cars for the money. Corvette ZR1, unfortunately, just demolishes any sort of speed for dollar argument these days. But in terms of the overall experience, the feel, the uniqueness, the look, the rarity, build quality, all these things together, Whee! This thing gets a 10 out of 10 in my books. I'm a big fan of this car, and it was a really cool opportunity to get to spend some extended time with this. Huge thanks to my friend John for just tossing me the keys for a couple days, so I've been driving around really getting to know it, and I came away very impressed by the NSX Type-S. Really good all around and unique Japanese supercar built in Ohio. If you don't want to spend $250,000, go look at a regular NSX, but I think it deserves more consideration, and I'm interested to see what future values do, but at the current state, a base NSX I think would be a really good value. And at the end of the day, it's a Honda, so like it should be really dang reliable, right? Maybe because they're so rare, like low production relative to other supercars and sports cars of the era, but I haven't heard like Achilles heel, overarching issues, electrical problems, the engine does this. I personally have not heard anything, and I feel like they're just solid good cars. But hope you guys enjoyed this review of the Acura NSX Type-S. Pretty cool, right? Comment below, what do you think? Would you pick one of these over an R8, over a McLaren, Lamborghini, Ferrari, whatever else you're shopping for? If you got $250,000 lying around and you want a fun, daily drivable supercar? Thanks for watching.